All right, next up is mincing garlic. So garlic grows from the base into the clove. We want to cut off the coarse bit at the bottom. So just as we mentioned with the onion, I'm going to position my ingredient to be at the bottom of the blade while grounding the point of the knife against the board. By doing this, I always know where the knife is. So come in at the side, come at the side of the knife, and the skin will just crack a little and we can slip it off like a little hat. No need to whack it too violently, because if you do, you're gonna have to handle it a lot to get the skin away. So before we mince, we're gonna begin with a slice. And when you slice, the point never leaves the board. You descend, push forward, and kind of relaunch. By keeping the point down, you know where the knife is. The garlic's at the base, cutting forward. After I've chopped this a few times, my fingertips are gonna move to the end of the knife and serve as a fulcrum. My right hand is going to move back and forth and around, so that I'll be able to cut really efficiently. Now, after I've cut this a few times to expose the inside, I just sprinkle a bit of salt on top. The reason I do that is that salt will pull moisture to the surface, and garlic's moisture is sticky. So rather than drying out a vegetable like I would do to an eggplant or zucchini, it just brings this kind of sticky juice up, which is gonna make it easier to mince because the momentum of the knife won't scatter garlic all across the board. So back and forth, around and around. The only effort I'm exerting is moving my right hand up and down. Because of the curve of the blade, it's creating momentum so that I'll be able to cut really efficiently and effectively. So, just like that. So it doesn't need to be super fine because it is going to be cooked, but if I were going to be using it in a raw application, I would cut it very, very finely. So normally I would stop and clean my hands and clean my board, but we're just going to keep going on this. We're going to dice up our tomatoes. If I were to clean my hands, I would wash them and then I would wipe them on stainless steel. Stainless steel is going to remove any odors. So if you've been working with fish or deep veining shrimp or mincing garlic and don't want that odor to stick on your skin, just touching stainless. So if you have a sink that's stainless, I just wipe them on the inside like that. If you have a piece of utensil or a mixing bowl, just take your hands on the outside. So with our tomatoes, I always want to identify how I'm going to be using them. And we're going to be roasting these in for our risotto. The risotto itself is a short rice grain, so I want these to be on the smaller side so that when I eat them and they ultimately get stirred through the risotto, there'll be a smaller bite. So the biggest thing here is I'm switching my blades. This is a serrated edge knife, and you might just have a bread knife as a serrated edge knife. That is going to be preferable for cutting a tomato than your sharpest straight blade. And the reason being is that tomatoes have what's called a soft skin, and we need the teeth of a serrated knife to get through them. So I'm just coring this, and then I'm going to cut this into wedges. We're going to be splitting these, so just coarse wedges about that size, maybe about 6 per 8 for an average sized tomato. This is an heirloom variety. I'm going to also be using some cherry tomatoes here that I just want to split in half. So just like so. We're going to be putting these on a baking tray. That baking tray is going to be lined with parchment or silicone mat, not aluminum foil, because the acidity of the tomatoes could react with the aluminum foil and you could have something that tastes really metallic. So I'm just going to put those on the tray and then lightly drizzle them with olive oil, salt, some herb if you want it. So our last prep step is going to be to separate an egg. Now this is for our meringue, and it's really important that our eggs be cleanly separated, because if you have any trace of yolk, it's going to impede the ability of the whites to get full. We're only doing 2 egg whites. Usually I will take whites, yolk, and after each white is clean, transfer it into my big mixing bowl. If I'm only doing 2, at worst, I lose 2 eggs. So I'm gonna grab a little knife, tap this in the center. This will give a nice clean line, and then I just pull this apart. And I'm gonna let my whites hang. Notice that my egg shells are hanging at 90 degrees so that the whites can pass away. I wanna touch it just once, and then put the yolk over there. I didn't wash my hands from doing the garlic. You definitely want to wash your hands if you're going to be handling the white, because I don't want any lingering garlic flavor to get onto the egg whites. But that looks pretty good. If you feel like there's the yolk still hanging there, you could also put the yolk in your hand and let the whites pass away. So we're not using the yolks today. I'm going to save them when I make aiolis and ice creams and curds. All of those are a yolk only preparation, so I save the yolks to work with that. If I had white in here with a little bit of something foreign, it could be a dollop of yolk, it could be a bit of shell. The easiest way to get it out is actually to dip a clean shell in here, and it's gonna suck away anything that doesn't belong in there. So these are gonna get separated into a stainless bowl, and we're gonna be beating those full. You can use an electric mixer too. So I'll see you on Friday, and we'll tackle all the how-tos of all these steps. Thanks.